Asheville, North Carolina. Make it loud for Josh Johnson!
I've been very excited to come here. It's been years since I've been to Asheville, and I like being here because y'all have it all. You know, you have like street crime and woods crime. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, this is one of the only places in America where a deer could get shot with a Uzi. You know what I mean? Like, y'all really moving out here. No, it's incredible. I was, last time I was here, we were on the road and we were headed to a show, and there was a dude, okay, there's no good way to pop out the woods. I'm trying to be fair to him, right? Like, I don't know what I was expecting. I don't know how it could have been better, but there's no good way. This dude, we're passing by in the car, and, things happen fast when you're on the highway and everything, but from far away until I passed him, I see this dude pop out going, and it's so hard to tell if he needed help or if someone else needed help. Do you know what I mean? Like, you either the victim or the assailant, but you looking like you could be equal parts right now. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't like his head, like it wasn't like he had an injury or something. He's like, oh, what happened? He looked surprised that there wasn't more woods to run through. This dude popped out of the woods like there was supposed to be more trees. This man popped out of the woods and froze. And my friends and I were just looking at him in the car as we passed. One pointed, and okay. He ran out of the woods as if to be like, oh, I made it, I'm free. Or, damn, they got away. I can't tell which one it was. No, because he was dressed. It wasn't like he was a naked man, but okay, even if you're wearing clothes, there's a certain amount of legs open that make you feel naked to other people. You know what I mean? The fact that he ran out it doesn't matter that I have pants on right now. This is a very naked stance to take. This doesn't look, these aren't regular clothes stances. And so the fact that he ran out of the woods and stopped and was looking around, it's like, you might as well be naked because you're making us a naked amount of uncomfortable, you know? My man busted out of the woods. And, I wasn't next to him. I was in a car. Thank God I was in a car. But you could just tell from looking at him, he breathing heavy, which means he was running in the woods for quite a while. Looking around all low. Why? Just stand up. Like, do you know what I mean? There's nothing to hide behind now. So being this low, legs open, looking around, this is a much more comfortable position to look around in. This man ran out, and we saw him. Okay, so we saw when he busted out of the woods, we were pulling up. So we saw him bust out of the woods, and then one of my friends pointed, and I know he couldn't hear us. I know he couldn't hear us. Like you should know I know that. I know he couldn't hear us, and the windows were up. He couldn't hear us, right? But my friend was like, do you see that guy? And right when he said, do you see that guy? This man, I turned, I looked, and he looked at me. Now, I know I'm in a moving car. He probably just looking in my direction. But I screamed like he was in the car. I wanted to have nothing to do. The fact that this man, I'm lit like this, and then this man. Nah. Sometimes it's not the time to smile, smiling after running out of the woods. I think you are the assailant. I think that you... But no, it's great to be back. It's great to be back in Asheville with you. Can I tell you a story? When I was a kid, I was walking down the street, and it's funny, man. Art can save your life. It really can. Cause I was walking down the street, and there was this dude right in front of me, right? And I wasn't like too close to him, but I was just basically keeping up pace with him, and we hit a light, and so he stopped, I stopped, and I was just looking around, and I saw a new mural that had been painted, and I don't know, it just fascinated me. I took a second to look at it, and I guess the light had changed, and we had the right of way, and he went off walking, and I was still just staring at it, and then just as I decided that I had taken it in enough, I turned and got ready to take that step off the sidewalk. And then in the middle of the street, this car had, I guess, run a light and was about to run another light, and it hit that guy, the guy that I was right behind, you know? And he's okay, by the way. I mean, he did get hit by a car, but like he's the level of okay that you are years after getting hit by a car. He moved on. Like, he walked away that day. It mostly hit his ass, but like it did graze him in a way that, like, because I was just a couple steps behind him and because I've been keeping pace with him for a whole street, I was like, that would have hit me square. You know? And I mean, they were trying to stop. They had slammed on the brakes. That's actually maybe one of the reasons I turned, because I started hearing the screech and I saw it, boom. And he got up, but he did bounce. Like it's like, if he bounced, I would have flown. I don't know why it is when you get hit by a car, sometimes your shoe fly off. I don't know why people don't tie their shoes tight enough, but like, this thing like hit him from behind. He spun and he went up a little bit and his shoe flew right, but his shoe took so little resistance to fly off. Like, it would be different if he had like rolled over the windshield and the shoe flew off after that. But the shoe started flying off before it looked like he was really going in the air. It looked like he had one shoe and one sandal. The shoe was so ready to fly off. Anyway. I still can't get over what happened Sunday at the Super Bowl. I want to be clear about something, right? I watched the Super Bowl not really rooting for any one team, just sort of watching to watch. This is a big event and everything. And the Chiefs lost harder than the Eagles won. I don't know if that sentence makes enough sense, but it, like, at a certain point, I was just like, maybe I could play. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not good either. I could get tackled too. Oh, that was rough. That was hard. There was one point where I was watching it, and I was like, guys. You want to watch a good game. Like, in my mind, you want to watch a good game, especially when you don't have any loyalty to any team. You just want to watch like a really fun, wow, that's crazy type game. And it was such a thrashing that I was like, y'all, not in front of Taylor. Taylor done shown up and got dressed and everything. And there was one point that they went to Taylor on the camera and they booed Taylor. I was like, what did she do? Do you know what I mean? There's nothing America hates more, apparently, than a woman minding her business. Because even she was like, I couldn't have done anything. But I tell you what, you know, I want somebody to believe in me, to really, truly, from the bottom of their heart, believe in me the way those commentators believed the Chiefs could make a comeback. The things that I was hearing made me feel dumb. I started to feel like I didn't understand football at all the way they were talking. They were talking so wild about, so first 10 points that the Eagles got, they were like, hey, fun little fact for you. Every time the Chiefs win in a Super Bowl, they come from behind. I was like, what stat is that? All right. Okay. And then the Eagles scored another touchdown. They were like, well, it's only the first half. Anything could happen next half. It's like, all right. And then they have the halftime show. Then they come back from the halftime show, and then they're asking one of the announcers. They're asking one of the commentators, like, what was the mood like in the locker room for the Chiefs? Like, what was the plan? And the person they were talking to was like, they know. No, they know they like 34, 39, whatever points behind. They were mostly talking about that. They were like, oh, we got to go out there and correct that. That doesn't feel good at all. We got to do the opposite of that next time. Was the general mood in there, was to just be different than they were before. I think there was a little prayer. Yeah, they were in, they were in tough spirits, but they're gonna try and make a comeback in this next, because Taylor's here. We gotta do it. And it was the third quarter. Eagles scored again. And the announcers came on, they're like, look, you never want to celebrate too early if you're the Eagles, right? Because you have no idea what these Chiefs could do. You can tell they're just trying to save the ratings as hard as possible to make it seem like there could be this 10-second comeback of 59 points or whatever they need. It was the most insane. I was like, no one has ever believed in me the way that they're like, you never know though. Even when it was the last 5 minutes, they were like, you never want to celebrate too early because that's how you can lose the game even when you are 99 points ahead, okay? It's the hubris that loses games. I'm sitting there like, do I not know how to count? Like, it's too many sevens away. I think they got it. Like, I'm not the best at math, right? I'm not the best at math. I needed a math tutor, and my math, okay, I was an algebra, okay. Math is like one of the only things that I really struggle with genuinely, and not like basic math, but math once it gets conceptual, right? And so I had to take Algebra 1 twice. It's the only class in my life, I think, or maybe there's one other, but it's one of the only classes I've ever failed and had to take again, right? And so I'd take Algebra 1 twice, and I was so thankful when I finally got a C after the second time, and then they made me take Algebra 2, and I was like, last I checked, 1 + 1 is 2. I don't know what y'all are trying to do to me, okay? But I was at Algebra 1, okay, I had 2 math tutors, and one tutor quit. One tutor quit because it was, okay, they were helping me, and then I was basically getting things so wrong that they were questioning. They had to get away from me before they didn't know algebra anymore. And so then I knew I was bad. I knew that algebra was never gonna be in my job description because my second tutor, there was one time we were working on a problem and she stopped herself just short of fully saying it, but she saw me struggling so hard. This woman almost said, sound it out. And And she stopped herself, but you could tell, like, beneath the surface, there was this thing of like, I don't even know how to help right now. And don't get me wrong, I'm not judging. I hate when people look at the efforts of like elite athletes as if they're not all incredible. The Kansas City Chiefs are good. They were just bad that day against the Eagles. I throw a football like I just got an arm. So I'm not gonna be over here judging too harshly, right? It's just the way that they fought so hard. Oh no, they can pull it out. Trust me, they can do it. You know? And then my friend shared a theory with me. This was crazy. This dude told me, I was talking to my buddy David, and David said, because I told him the thing I just told you, right? I was like, I've never seen a game like that where they've tried to make it seem so even the whole time, even though the numbers were on the screen. And my buddy David said that Tom Brady was one of the ones really pushing that narrative, and he thinks that it was because Tom Brady is jaded from the fact that off of this potential three-peat, people are already calling Patrick Mahomes like a GOAT, like putting him in that conversation. And so they're like, they're basically lifting up Patrick Mahomes very quickly and very young, very like, you could even maybe say a little early in his career for the GOAT conversation. And then Tom Brady, who's obsessed with the game and gave so much of his life to it, sees that and feels some type of way. And so he was basically telling me that every time they did that, that was actually just Tom Brady digging in. And I watched some of it again, and I think he might be right. Because it was coming off hella sassy when you watch it back with that context. Like when you see Tom Brady commentating on the game, he's like, yeah, Mahomes. I mean, you never know with these Kansas City Chiefs and how good Mahomes is. Maybe he can come back from 30 points. I mean, maybe he's just that good. We don't know, right? A lot of people are calling him the GOAT. I mean, not today, but a lot of people are calling him the GOAT. So maybe he could do it. Interesting strategy, getting sacked again. I've never seen anything, but this Patrick, he's good. He's very good. He's probably used this as a strategy to lose by so many points in the first half that he really comes back in the second half. Because he can, because he's Patrick Mahomes. You know, back when I was playing, I tried to not get sacked, but I guess if I had been sacked more and then won after that, people would be more impressed, but it's... And then you had the Super Bowl halftime show. By Kendrick Lamar. This was crazy because, okay, everyone has their opinions about it, right? But I know when I was watching it and it started and I saw Samuel L. Jackson. I saw Samuel Jackson, camera goes over to Samuel Jackson, he's like, it's your uncle, Sam. And I was like, oh, we had already started. That was dope. That was dope to have Samuel Jackson as Uncle Sam was dope. Because one thing is obviously the little like wink wink, cute thing, right? But one thing that Kendrick is incredible at doing, something I haven't seen people really be able to do, whether it's through music or imagery, is layers to a story. And there's multiple layers to everything that happened, right? Samuel Jackson is playing Uncle Sam in Body of America, welcoming us to the Great American Game. The Great American Game is in the game of Kendrick's life that's about to play out, right? That's why we see the PlayStation controller on the football field, the game as in football, and the game as in the thing that we're all in, the thing that we all play. Whether you feel like you're playing it or not, you're a part of it. You know? And one thing you have to watch out, because Kendrick leaves these Easter eggs and stuff like that, you also can read so deep into it, you go off on a deep end where if you were able to talk to Kendrick, he would be like, nah. the internet is full of them. The internet is full of like, yeah, so then he had these dancers come out in red, white, and blue because Drake, because he beat Drake blue, and then you gonna see red because we beat him so much that the red comes out and Drake is white. Like, I think that's a very misguided take. But you can get there. It's very easy to get there. You start searching, hunting, trying to read into every little thing. And if you're not careful, yeah, you go off on some deep end. That's not what anybody intended, you know? And this dude says it because that's the other thing. He sets you up with some pretty fire lines that make you start digging. He specifically says, you wouldn't get the picture if I sat you for hours in front of the Louvre. So now even I'm digging. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, the Louvre. All right. Drake is Canadian, French Canadian, the Louvre. Yeah, French Canadian, the Louvre, like in France where they keep the art, but Drake's not an artist, no. No, that might not be it. That might be, that was dumb, my bad. And so he does the snippet, some people are calling it bodies, and then he does Squabble Up, and out of nowhere, after Squabble Up, Samuel Jackson comes out again, no, too loud, too reckless, too ghetto. One of the things that if you've been black in America at any point you've heard about yourself, whether you overheard it from people talking behind your back or it was told to your face, too loud, too reckless, too ghetto, there's something wrong with you just being yourself. You know? And it's delivered by Uncle Sam. Right? I don't know, when I go to like a new place, one time my friend was asking me, because I travel so much, he's like, how do you know how racist a place is when you go there? You know, don't you think about it? I was like, yeah, I think about it. You know, if you're black and you travel America, you think about it a little bit. And I was like, you know, this is the way that I know. I'll just go to like a West Elm or a Patagonia or or a Lululemon, or I'll just walk in and look around, do a little shopping, and just smile at people. And however long it takes them to smile back is probably how much danger I'm in. You know, you go into Patagonia, you smiling at everybody, hey, and you get a couple smiles back quick. You're like, all right. We're safe. But if you walk into a West Elm and everybody just looking, looking at each other too. No, you say something. Somebody finally approaches. They're like, can I help you? I know we're not staying there tonight. So then this dude, Uncle Sam, Samuel Jackson, tells him, tighten up. He asks him, Mr. Lamar, do you really know how to play the game? Yeah. Do you really know how to navigate? Do you really know what's expected of you? Do you really know what to do next? Then tighten up. And that's a wild conversation to have with someone who maybe even thinks they're helping you, right? Because that's been told to me in different ways by lots of people. Like, tighten up, watch yourself. Don't be too loud, too ghetto, too reckless, you know what I mean? And sometimes it's white people, sure, but sometimes it's older black people that I know that just want you to be safe because they know how the game is played, right? Because I don't know if you can tell by looking at me, but I'm not exactly a hard individual. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not... You know what I mean? Not only am I not a hard individual, I remember one time, my mama tried to raise me to be a gentleman. And there was this one time, I was in college, and I'm working on a group project, and one of our classmates was ready to go to her car, and she was like, hey, does anybody mind walking me to my car? And I was like, yeah. And then she was like, does anybody mind walking us to my car? I'm not a hard individual. I'm smiling at everybody. Literally, I use the smile test. That's how I know if a place is safe or not. I smile. I make myself open, right? I show. I'm no threat. And I even got in trouble with my friends one time because we were walking down the street in Chicago and, made eye contact with this cop, and he was like mourning, just a little passing mourning. And then I didn't realize it came out like this, but apparently I was like, officer. I don't remember it like that, but apparently that's how I sounded. My friends were very upset with me. One of them said I said it like I was welcoming him home. I thought I just said, officer. Apparently I was like, officer? So once again, I'm not a hard individual. So if I've got the speech, if I've got that speech, tighten up. That's too loud, that's too reckless, that's too ghetto. If I got it, damn. There's no end to the game that you can try to play with respectability politics. You can either be yourself or you can't. And if you can't, then to whatever degree that you can't, doesn't really matter. Do you really know how to play the game? Then tighten up. It goes into Man at the Garden. And Man at the Garden is one of those things. It's a refrain. I deserve it all these things, right? And he's on the block. And you see these boys on the block, so black. Gold teeth, dreads, everything. And then they scurry. They see Uncle Sam coming. Uncle Sam walks up. Kendrick's already walked off. And he says, oh, you brought your homeboys with you. Okay, little culture cheat code. Turns to the camera and says, scorekeeper, deduct one life. And some people didn't hear it. Apparently the mixing wasn't great for everybody. So there were some people whose review of Super Bowl halftime was pretty bad, and some people thought they were just being haters. But no, genuinely, depending on where you watched, it depended on the mix that you heard. So there were little things that Kendrick said that either went over people's heads, they didn't quite hear, music was too loud, too soft, whatever. I was watching the Super Bowl halftime on Tubi, and Tubi did incredible. Tubi knocked it out of the park. I was like, man, Tubi was like, this is our chance. We cannot mess this up. A lot of people don't know we exist, and we're literally free. We have to knock this out of the park. And they did, because I heard everything. I saw Samuel Jackson turn, scorekeeper, deduct one life, and that thing hit me hard, because that is what happens. That is part of the game. You should know that. That's one of the reasons that it's sometimes scary to stand up. It's scary to be different, because whenever you build community, they usually deduct one life. Whenever you make a movement, They deduct one life. And there are plenty of examples of it happening with black people and black culture, but it is everybody, just so you know. No matter who you are, no matter what you look like, no matter when you came to this country, try to start a union. And look, it might not be you. They might miss. But it is what happens. Deduct one life. And it's wild to hear Samuel Jackson deliver that line, because Samuel Jackson was an usher at Martin Luther King's funeral. Right? Like, Samuel Jackson used to be way more militant. And I'm not saying he's not now. I'm just saying, like, back in the day, he was about that action. He'd lock you in a room and wait till you came to your senses. So then they go to Peekaboo. I don't know, it's just funny to me what Kendrick just played Peekaboo. Nah, I had to laugh. People have so many theories about Peekaboo, about him using Luther and all the stars, SZA coming out, being on the triangle. Like, I'm not acting like I caught every single thing, but I know that when Samuel Jackson pops up again and he says, yes, see, that's what we want. That's what we want. That's what America wants. Nice, calm, you're almost there. Don't mess this up. Right? Yeah. Because if we're being honest, that is the truth of the matter. People, even sometimes people who love hip hop, love black people, love anyone different the way that people love those tigers they take pictures with. I don't know if you've ever been on Tinder. But every once in a while on Tinder, there'll be somebody with one of their pictures is just them next to a full-blown tiger, hugging them. And the tiger's sedated as hell. The tiger is over here. And they're over there hugging its neck like they're in the Jungle Book. Like, we have to protect these beautiful animals, all right? We have to preserve their way of life. Oh, shoot him again. Shoot him again with the dart. He looked like he was opening his eyes for a second. So sweet, so gentle. Deep down, they're just gentle creatures. Shoot him again. He moved. That leg. I don't like what that leg doing. Looked like he gonna get up. And that is how people sometimes, prefer their hip hop, prefer their protests. Why can't you just do it sedated? Why can't you just tone it down a notch, right? And then he plays Not Like Us. And people lose their minds. I loved him. I loved him playing it because of what he said when he started it, 40 acres and a mule, this is bigger than the music. They tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence. That's wild. If you really think about those lines in any context outside of the Super Bowl, outside of Drake, the song, Not Like Us, everything, they still stand all on their own. How many of us feel like we're in a rigged game? And it was beautiful to watch Not Like Us get played on that world stage, Drake tried. He tried his best. That dude tried his damnedest. Not only did he try, that dude went to Australia. Not only was he not in America, he was under the earth. This man went under earth to do, to his credit, I'm not acting like he's not a big artist. I'm not acting like he doesn't have an album dropping this weekend. I'm saying, like, this dude went under the earth to do an arena show just to make sure at least these people aren't watching the Super Bowl. Can you imagine? You go to that Anita Max Win tour. paid extra for tickets. You pretty close, and you get a little curious. Drake on stage. What is that? What is that? Get him out of here. Then, you had that dude. That dude performed Not Like Us. When I was what was it, like 2 years ago? I went to visit my friend. Now, my friend had a baby years before that. By the time I met his kid was 5, because we hadn't seen each other a really long time. And cutest kid. It's crazy that my friends are having kids because I can see, you ever see somebody who looks so perfectly like a mix of their parents? You see perfectly both of those people in this new person. And we were supposed to hang out all day, and he went and we were in the kitchen, and he grabbed something for us to drink, and so he had poured himself an almond milk, poured kid something, was like, "Will you want anything?" I was like, "Oh, I'll just take that," and then poured me some. He's like, "I'm gonna just go ahead and get changed, I'll be right back." He goes upstairs, and now it's just me and his kid, and I'm like, "How you doing?" He's like, "I'm good." And it's crazy, because he even had I'm just meeting this kid, but he already had my buddy's mannerism. Just that shoulder thing. "I'm good." It's exactly like his dad. "I'm good." I was like, "Oh, okay. You having a good day?" He's like, "Yeah." You know, it's like, "You excited? I think we're gonna go to the zoo or something." He's like, "Yeah, sure, I'm excited. Be fun, you know." And then he turned around and he knocked my milk over. And this kid had been so sweet up until this point, I was sure it was an accident, right? Until he turned to me and he was like, "I spilled your milk." And when I tell you that thing was imprinted on my memory, I had actually forgotten about it for these 2 years. Until Kendrick said, "Say, Drake." Kendrick Lamar has an incredible smile, but he always seems to use it for dastardly deeds. This man said, "Say, Drake." I haven't been that scared. I know he was talking to Drake, but even I was at home like, ooh. That man whipped around and said, "Say, Drake," like he just ran out of the woods. Oh, that was crazy. That was insane. "Say, Drake." And then you see a glimpse of Serena. I couldn't believe I saw Serena dance. I was like, "Is that Serena?" And Kendrick and Dave Free must have known we wouldn't believe it was Serena, because then they showed her again. I was like, "Well, that is Serena!" That's Serena over there, crip walking. Which, if you pay attention to the layers, you pay attention to the storytelling, one of the most beautiful things about Serena being on stage, crip walking, dancing, right, is not just as a sort of FU to Drake, right? Because it is. Because her and Drake, you know. And then Serena moved on, and Drake couldn't handle it. A lot of people think that Kendrick Lamar is Drake's kryptonite, and he really isn't. Drake's kryptonite is a woman who's moved on. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing that Drake hates more than a woman minding her business. And so he would make songs, little sneak disses at Serena, little sneak disses at Rihanna, all this stuff, right? He loves beefing with women who have moved on. The best way I can sum up Drake to me is one time I was in Chicago, and apologies if you've already heard this little quick story, but I was in Chicago and I was sitting on the train, and this woman gets on the train, beautiful, like knockout gorgeous woman, right? And she ended up sitting next to me. And then this other dude gets on the train, and he's sitting across from us, and he tries to holler. You know, he's like, hey, sweet thing, how you doing, right? Now, this dude, to be fair, was very good looking. He was very good looking. Like when I looked up at him, I was like, oh, you two would make sense. Very good looking dude, put together, everything. And he's like, hey, sweet thing, how you doing? What you doing? Where you going? How's your night? You know? And then she looks up from her phone and she goes, oh, nah. And I hated that I was sitting next to her because I had to turn all the way around. But she goes, oh, nah. And he just sits there. Sits there for like, maybe 40 seconds. And then train doors open. And he looks at her and he's like, you can't hurt me. And then he got off the train. And that's what a lot of Drake beefs with women feel like to me. Because the layers of Serena Dance is not just like this FU to Drake. Is one, also, we're playing the game, right? We're all part of the game. And it's a black woman having a good time. Which is also pre-revolutionary. You know? And if you follow Serena, and if you follow tennis, you'll know that when she did the same dance at Wimbledon, they came for her hard. They said it was too loud, too reckless, too ghetto. And now she's doing it in front of the world. In front of the world with nothing but joy and people cheering her on, right? Giving us full circle moments. I thought that was so dope. You know? I even tried to do it. I hurt myself. Nah, I popped right up. I was like, oh, Serena! And I think that one of the most revolutionary things you can do is just have joy. Just have a good time. I watch so many people just having fun. I watch people watch it and have fun. That warmed my heart just to see so many people having a good time. I know it wasn't for everybody. I know there were some people that thought it was boring, they didn't like it or whatever. And he said ahead of time, you wouldn't get the picture if I sat you for hours in front of the Louvre. So it may not be for you, and that's okay. But I watched so many people have such a good time. It was dope, you know? And it's more than fitting. It's a blessing. It's an honor to talk with you about this, about black music, about black joy at the Orange Peel in Asheville, North Carolina, a place that in the 60s and 70s had incredible black acts, you know, was sometimes one of the few places that they could get booked, where black-owned radio stations had DJs do party nights. Like, it was great to be here, and I appreciate you having me, you know? I think that for the most part, when I think about the halftime show and when I rewatch it for the 100th time, And there were so many people that were critical of Kendrick. It should have been more. He should have done more. He should have like gone up there, been more militant. He should have done this. And it's like, look, can I just tell you, I'm not trying to be a bummer when I say this, but like everything you've ever watched that ever went out on a broadcast that you thought was revolutionary or you thought was ultra militant was approved for you to see by a corporate lawyer. Like all of it was, you know? In fact, whenever a moment gets through that's not that thing, that person usually faces swift consequences. There are so many people that are like, no, he didn't go far enough. He could have done so much more. And it's like, look, I understand. That's what people are saying. But if you really believe that, if you really believe that he should have done so much more, I can tell you this, art can save your life. Art can absolutely save your life. I believe it from the bottom of my heart. But believe me when I tell you that entertainment will never be your salvation. All right? Art can save your life, but entertainment by and large is escapism. And no one has ever escaped their chains by forgetting they were there. So you cannot, when I tell you, you will not be saved through entertainment alone. Expecting Kendrick to rap so good that Trump is like, I'ma stop. Like, be serious. If you really believe that, if you really believe he didn't go far enough, he didn't do enough, there was so much more he could have done, forget the symbolism, forget the double entendres. He should have spoke plainly. He should have put it all out there. I have great news for you. There are these things called books, right? There's these things called books, and every revolutionary that the government was scared enough to murder, almost all of them wrote one before they died. And they're so confident that you won't read it, they have it for free at the library. I'm just genuinely, I don't know what to say sometimes when people are like, why didn't he do this? It's like, I don't know, man. I'm not in his head. You know, he's great. You can't expect him to save you. He did an entire album where he said he wasn't our savior. The whole album where he was like, yeah, but I rap. I think it was incredible. I think it was a phenomenal show, especially in a year and a time where there are people that would have Black history disappear. You know, there are people that would have us forget. And I think the only way to stop Black history from going away is to make more of it all the time. Make new history all the time, new moments, you know? Because so many people were like, man, it was so boring, I didn't get it. And it's like, you know, it's the most watched thing right under the moon landing, but I'm sure that was hate watching. You're right. I think that whatever you take away from the performance, if it's art that touched you, that made you feel something, that's good. That's all you can hope for. But if you want like a revolution, if you want change, you're probably gonna have to go outside and get some or make some. That, like if you want, like, cause then, you know, he plays Not Like Us and then we all scream Mustard. DJ Mustard comes out, they're dancing. And one thing I really loved about the performance, genuinely from the bottom of my heart, is that almost always what people will do, the Super Bowl thing to do is go out there and play your hits. Make a medley that reminds us why we love you, right? And this dude, he did some of his hits, but he mostly did this GNX album. He even says it when they start playing TV Off. This is GNX. We came here from Compton, California to party with y'all. Master. You know? Then the Super Bowl halftime show ends after he Hits that TV off, game over, cold stuff. And then they come back. Tom Brady's like, well, let's see if Patrick Mahomes can like really bring it home. Like, he's so good. I've heard he's great. I've heard he's fantastic. So I'm sure he can come back from this 2,000-point deficit. No, for real though. If you want change, art can save you. Entertainment will never be your salvation. And so if you really want to see a different neighborhood, a different country, a different world, you probably gonna have to turn TV off.
Please make it loud for Josh Johnson!
When I was a kid, our class had a bully, and I'm just gonna call him John, right? And John, he bullied everybody in like a very run-of-the-mill way. Like, this was very standard bullying. Like, slap the books out your hand. What's that? Your nose, blow, right? And I think one of the reasons we let him get away with it wasn't just because he was a little bit bigger than all of us, but his voice changed first. And it changed so young, we didn't know what to do with that. Like, we didn't know that was coming for the rest of us. So then John would just walk up like, give me your homework. And I'd be like, that sounds like the devil. So, because I'm not equipped with holy water today, you gonna get this math homework. And there was another kid in our class, Reeve. And Reeve, I'm not gonna say he didn't have any friends, but Reeve had friends for like 20 minutes at a time, because Reeve was one of the singular most annoying people I'd ever met in my entire life. It was almost to the level of a skill or a talent. It was absolutely insane. As an example, right? Reeve loved anime. And that's fine. I love anime too. But Reeve loved anime in a way that I didn't love anime, because I at least know anime not real. Reeve loved anime to the point where he was letting it affect how he runs. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, he could never do anything regular. He had to do it anime every time. He could never just turn around. He had to be like, you ask Reeve a question, he doesn't know the answer. He can't just think about it. He has to go, It's like, as a fellow anime lover, I'm like, dog, chill. You making us look bad. Stop. Please. No, it was insane. And one day, we were at lunch, and Reeve was trying to make his carton of milk explode, right? You know, with his powers. And so he holding his hand over the carton of milk, not touching it, holding it over. Nothing happening because it's not real. He finally gets so tired of waiting for the powers to activate that he grabbed the milk, squeeze it, drop it, and go, I did it. No, I did it. Y'all just didn't see it when I did it. But yeah, no, I did it. Ooh, I got it. Now, when he picked it up and he crushed it, milk went everywhere. And a lot of milk just spurted out and landed all over John. And John stood up, turned around, walked up to Reeve, towering over him, and was like, you got milk on me. We gonna fight later. And never before in my young life had I been so excited for violence. Because as word spread, people were taking sides. They were like, no, John gonna kill Reeve. And we're like, no, Reeve weird. I bet you he gonna scratch him to death. Like, he has that X factor. We might be able to get rid of both of them at the same time. And so after school, we gathered around in a little circle in front of the two of them. They're about to fight, right? And John is like lumbering back and forth. And we knew John was strong, but he also, he moved slow. And he was moving slow pre-fight. He was just stalking back and forth like Mike Tyson in the early 90s, just like ready to do something terrible, right? And then on the other side of this imagined ring, Reeve is using his pre-fight time to power up. I've watched a lot of anime, and I've never seen what this child did next. Because to power up, the first thing he did was let his knees buckle. What is this? What power are you drawing from the earth right here like this? This doesn't make any sense at all. He over here, knees buckle, arms out. This is not how you power up in any anime. This is how you fall down the stairs if you a slinky. All right? And this boy here, like this, doing the power up yell. Oh! And then the fight starts, and the fight starts with Reeve attacking John, right? Coming right at him, but he coming at him in the power-up stance. So he over, oh! And admittedly, John didn't know what to do. He really was like, And so they start fighting, and kind of what we thought was gonna happen happens. John is big, he's strong, but he telegraphs all his punches, and he's slow. Boom, but he's missing, right? And Reeves attacks. Reeves' attacks have a lot of energy to them. That's not really going anywhere. Like, instead of punching, he over here, yeah! And so he's fast enough getting out of John's way, but he's not doing any damage. And so John over here punching air, and Reeve over here throwing air. So it's not really a fight. But I really was gathered around all those people, shoulder to shoulder, watching two of them go at it like fight, 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 fight. First time in my life. Fight, 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 fight. So when I think about Elon and Trump, right? It's like it's like one of the most insane bouts I've ever watched take place in my life. In case you haven't heard, Elon and Trump are fighting. And it's like Christmas came early and twice. Like, the only person calling for peace is Kanye West. That's crazy. It's crazy. And we knew that this thing was bound to happen, because you have to think of who Elon is as a person and who Trump is as a person, right? And it's wild because one, richest man in the world, one, most powerful man in the world and everything, but they had a shaky alliance from the start because I don't think we gave Trump in the moment enough credit for how nice he was being to Elon. He was was very nice to Elon. You know? Because Elon, weird. Wait. Elon weird, and Trump didn't say anything about it the entire time, acting like he didn't see it. Like, that's not who he is as a person. Trump is a natural bully. Like, that's what he does, you know? And he was very nice to Elon by omission. I'm not just talking about what he said, because Trump is always using superlatives if he likes you. If he likes you, you're the best, smartest, most amazing that's ever done it, right? That's how he speaks. But he was nice to Elon by what he didn't say. Because you gotta remember, Donald Trump is the same man who roasted the supreme leader of North Korea to his face. I don't know if y'all remember, it was like 2018 or something, and Kim Jong-un and him met up to have dinner and like talks and stuff like that, and there was a photographer there taking pictures of both of them before they sat down for the dinner, and Trump turned to the photographer and was like, "You making us all look nice and handsome and thin?" A lot of people think Kim Jong-un doesn't speak or understand English. He understands English. He consumes a lot of American media. And Kim Jong-un was even standing there like, did he? He know I kill people, right? Like, that same guy was very nice to Elon. And he was nice to Elon by omission, because Elon jumped in front of Trump. You saw the jump. The world saw the jumps. Trump invited Elon on stage, and Elon walked on stage like, showed bottom belly in front of Donald Trump. This grown man showed full belly button, broad daylight in front of Donald Trump, and Trump said nothing. Acting like he didn't see it. Just let that dude start talking right after. That was wild. You know, Elon jumped because he was excited. And he was excited because what was about to happen had never happened before. Never before, right? Obviously, Elon, richest man in the world, and as long as there's been money infused in politics, the wealthy have had a ton of influence. That's nothing new. What was about to happen was unprecedented. This rich man was about to actually get to go in the government himself. No back channels, no liaisons. He was going to go in the government himself. He was going to end every investigation into him and his companies. He was going to fire everyone investigating. He was very excited. And I guess he was more excited than any president we've ever had, because all of our presidents have kept their feet on the ground the entire time. There's no old footage of Kennedy like, it doesn't exist. There's no portrait of Thomas Jefferson like, no, get the one where he was getting air. That was... This man jumped in front of Donald Trump. Trump said nothing. Elon laughed in front of Trump. As someone who has traveled the world and continues to travel the world, making people laugh, I've heard all types of laughs. And believe me when I tell you, Elon laughed like he throwing up. Watch any interview Elon does where he makes a joke, because only he will get it, and then he starts laughing, and he's just sitting there like, you know, it's because it's comedy. It's funny with jokes. This man laughed in front of Donald Trump. Trump said nothing. Elon danced in front of Donald Trump. Elon danced like... Elon danced like he gotta look at each body part first to give it permission to move. Like, it is truly astounding. He'll be there. In front of Donald Trump. And Trump didn't say a word. That's like sitting Eminem down in front of a yacht going 40 knots, holding 30 thoughts who are each holding bulbs that are 20 watts, and he can't rap about it at all. That's his whole thing. It's wild that he's not saying anything. He is being very nice to Elon. And I knew it wasn't gonna hold. Everybody knew it was gonna fall apart. We didn't know when, but we knew it was a short-lived alliance. And it was short-lived, in my opinion, for two reasons. All right? The first one is that you cannot ever watch someone treat everyone terribly and think that that doesn't mean they'll do the same thing to you under the right conditions. You know what I mean? And I should be clear here. I'm not talking about someone who has a bad day, someone who's in a bad way at the moment. We're all human. People have bad days. I'm talking about someone who, by and large, treats people terribly, but is nice to you. It's only for right now. As soon as you're in the position the other people are in, they'll treat you the same way. And if you don't think so, you're a fool. And both of them, without exception, think that they are the exception. Oh no, I've seen him scream at everybody and, treat them like trash. It won't happen to me though. All right? One has the most money in the world. One has the most power in the world. But neither one of them have respect for anybody. And the three things that men like them seek, and I think that they seek them because maybe they're the only things that they care about, or maybe they truly believe that if they get these three or enough of them, everything else will fall into place. But men like these men are obsessed with money, power, and respect. You can't have all the money in the world, you can have all the power in the world, but a lot of people conflate fear with respect. And they're not the same thing. You can be afraid of what someone could do to you with all of their money. It doesn't mean you respect them. You can be afraid of what someone can do to you with all of their power. It doesn't mean that you respect them. And you know it because as soon as the money is gone, the respect is gone. As soon as the power is gone, the respect is gone. And there are plenty of people. There are plenty of people I've known growing up in my life, men that I looked up to who did not have any money. And they didn't have any more power than enough to control themselves, but I respected them because of how they treated people, how they carried themselves. And respect is the one thing, one of many, that can't be bought and it can't be forced. And neither one of them really get that. And they don't respect anyone. So eventually this was gonna come to a head. And I knew it was starting because Elon truly believes, he's even said so, that he bought Trump that election. He spent $250 to $280 million in the election. He believes, look, you lost the last one, you won this one. I'm the difference, I'm the deciding factor. I got you that election. And you're not gonna convince a man like Donald Trump that you got him anything. He's like, that's my base, those are my voters, they like me, they don't like you. You didn't get me anything. I'll gladly take your money, but you didn't get me the election. I got it myself. That was always gonna be a sticking point. And so then Elon took that belief and he took it to a local race in Wisconsin, right? And he was even doing like little $1 million raffles if you vote for the person who wants you to vote for. It was very confusing how it worked. Like I didn't get it at all. And he even went to Wisconsin, was stumping for this person, was there in Wisconsin. And then the candidate that he backed lost by double digits. And it's because people see how much money he has. He's the richest man in the world, but they don't like or respect him. He hurt that candidate by being there and by doing those raffles. It would be like if someone came to you, and let's say in this scenario, you know, you're working and you're doing all right, you're getting by, and maybe sometimes it's paycheck to paycheck, things get rough, right? But someone comes up to you and they're like, hey, you just won the lottery. And you're like, what? I didn't even enter. Don't worry, we got you. What? How much did I win? $1 billion. Going from paycheck to paycheck to $1 billion. That's crazy. And you're like, there's gotta be a catch. I didn't enter any lottery. What do I have to do? And they're like, that's simple. You just have to hang out with Elon for the rest of your life. And at least based on what those people did in Wisconsin, they were like, you know what, actually, my job at McDonald's is perfect. I really like being customer facing. I like the rapport I have with my coworkers. Just keep that money and him away from me, please. Because he could not buy the race, because as much money, don't get me wrong, $1 million, ton of money. That's a ton of money. And people have done way worse for less, but at a certain point, people reach their breaking point. And they're like, no, I have enough respect for myself, I have enough respect for my community, for my state, to not just vote this way, just for some money from a guy who I know is a bad actor, you know? And once that happened, I knew it was probably up for Elon. Because he lost that race. He hurt that candidate by going there. And if there's one thing Donald Trump hates, is a loser. And you could see some of the shine wearing off of Elon. Because initially, when the administration started, they protected Elon heavy. Anybody said anything about him, anybody did anything, they were on it like that immediately. But then Elon started getting on people's nerves. You know, initially, when they won, somebody would ask a question, they'd shut it down to the media. Elon is a patriot. He's helping clear this government of waste, fraud, and abuse. You leave Elon alone. And then people started to rebel against Elon specifically through Tesla. Tesla's stock started plummeting. People stopped buying Teslas. And then people started vandalizing Teslas. They started blowing up Teslas. And then Pam Bondi came on the news and was like, if you vandalize a Tesla, we will find you. We will prosecute you. They were helping Elon a lot. Trump even turned the front of the White House into like a dealership for a day. And he had Elon there, right? They were doing their best to help Elon. But then, as you saw the months go by, they started mentioning him less. You started seeing them together less. You could tell this thing was waning. And then, how I know that they had stopped protecting him, his 130 days was up as the Doge, like, daddy or whatever. Like, I don't know what this job is. Like, depending on who you ask on what day, he's like an advisor, but he's the leader, but he's not involved. It's like, it's all very weird, but he can only do it for 130 days because as America, we only have like 3 laws left, and one of them is that you can't be in a made-up position for more than 130 days. And so it was like time. And so it was time for him to go, right? And it being time for him to go, he asked Trump if he could stay. And Trump was like, dang, man. No, we only have so many, like, bathrooms in here. Like, it wouldn't work, you know? I imagine Trump had the reaction that you would have if the worst person you know asked if they could live with you for a little while. Just like, oh, dang, my place just flooded just now. That's right when you asked me too. That's crazy. I know we're not there, but I can feel with my bed underwater. Like, it's just a thing I have. So you should probably find somewhere for both of us to stay, because I need somewhere to stay too. Find a place for both of us to stay and you just stay there. That would be great. And so Elon, shows up for his last day at work, and the president is in the Oval Office with him, honoring him, giving him a key to nowhere. And one of the ways I knew they had stopped protecting Elon is because there were like 2 publications that came out, one the day before he left Doge, one the day of, and both those publications, from like high caliber written journalism basically said headline contents were basically, did y'all know he was a crackhead? Like, he'd been a crackhead. That's crazy. Elon a full crackhead. I had no idea. They were listing the drugs he was doing. They're like, he does cocaine, you know, he does mushrooms, some hallucinogens and everything, ketamine. Horses can't keep up with Elon. Like, he really out here a full crackhead. That's wild. You know, and then, you know, to prove the doubters, the detractors, what Elon would call the full-blown liars wrong, he showed up to the Oval Office for his last day of work, higher than his rockets go. This man was in the Oval Office standing next to the President of the United States, tweaking. This man was over here hitting the... He looked like he arguing 5 minutes into the future. It was wild to watch. This man over... could not stop moving. At one point, the only, like, you have to watch the video, but like, the only way I could describe it is he felt like a slow Michael Jackson, right? Like, just, he was just over here like, it was insane. This man next to the president cracking out, and Trump said nothing. And then he left, you know. He left, and I'll admit to you right now, I thought it was like a PR stunt. I really did. I thought that he was leaving, and then he'd just keep running Doge in the background, and this would take some of the heat off of him. Now you wouldn't think of him so directly. People wouldn't attack his businesses so hard, because in the time that he entered politics to present, he's lost somewhere around like $100 billion or something like that. And it's all like a valuation thing. It goes up and down, but you could see that at least the boards of the businesses that he was on are genuinely worried, even if he doesn't care. So I thought he was gonna leave politics for a little while, keep working in the shadows. Maybe the stock would go up a little bit, but nothing would really change. And it turns out that was not the case. He had really been getting on people's nerves. Like hard. And you saw it with Trump. They used to always, you know, be talking about Elon, mention him, to not mentioning him at all. You know? And then the people that Elon had to deal with, it wasn't really Trump as much as the actual cabinet, and they couldn't stand that dude. They hated that dude so much. And so he's really out. And you hear reports, now this stuff is all hearsay, I don't know if any of it is true, but apparently he was having shouting matches with Marco Rubio all the time. All of these cabinet people that Trump got in, Elon has had a spat with most of them, right? Scott Bessent, apparently him and Elon almost got in an actual fight. Scott Bessent doesn't look like he can fight. If you... If you don't know what Scott Bessent look or sound like, just imagine if like printer paper came to life. Like and Elon was truly out. He was out, and one thing really stuck out to me. It was the fact that Elon and Trump share a sort of lived experience where they're not used to hearing no and it's sticking. You know, no is usually an inconvenience to a yes for them. They usually get their way. And so for Elon to be told no, and then he was actually sidelined, And then things that he wanted to happen weren't happening. You know, he wanted some dude that he recommended to be the head of NASA. Trump said no. And then there were things that Elon didn't like because he felt like apparently they were undercutting all his work, like Trump's big, beautiful bill it's named the Big Beautiful Bill because imagination. And Elon has hated that thing, I guess, for a while. You know, just the idea of it. It's almost universally despised. Democrats obviously hate it, and Republicans also hate it, but for different reasons. They don't care that it's like gutting, you know, programs and whole agencies and that we're all gonna die. They don't like it because it raises the deficit anywhere from $3 to $5 trillion, right? And so it takes about 4 or 5 days. And then Elon tweets. He's like, I can't stand it anymore. I cannot stand it anymore. This bill is a disgusting abomination. And everybody in the House that voted for it, you know you did wrong, right? And Trump said nothing. I was like, did he find God or something? Like what is happening? This is not the dude we know. He attacks those who attack him. And he's finally asked about it. He's asked about it in a press conference, and they tell him exactly what Elon said. And he's like, you know, I'm really disappointed with Elon. He knew the bill. He knew it better than some of the people that voted on it. You know, he knew this bill, and he knew it was going to be cutting, you know, his electric vehicle credits like that. Maybe that's what he's upset about. I have no idea. But in case you don't remember, I was very nice to him. That dude showed up with a black eye. I didn't say anything. Because he did. Elon showed up for his last day of work, high and with a black eye that Trump just fully let go. He didn't point at it, didn't motion to it, nothing. Was very chill about the black eye. And then, you know, in the Oval Office, these are some of, not all, but some of the top journalists in America. Obviously, they have questions for Elon of what his plans are. Now that he's leaving Doge, he's going to spend all his time on his companies. They have plans to ask Trump questions about what he's going to do with Doge now that Elon is gone. What's the future of it, right? But these top journalists, the first question that I at least saw them ask was, what's wrong with your eye? Like that's... Nobody gonna say nothing? Like his eye. And then Elon was like, "Oh, it's actually like a funny story. I asked my 5-year-old, you know, my 5-year-old little ex. I told him to punch me with Ralph Hussein. I told him to punch me, and he punched me. I got a black eye. It was actually, you know, he's strong for a 5-year-old. It's kind of funny." Elon said he had a black eye because his 5-year-old punched him. That's a crackhead story if I ever heard one. That is a full crackhead lie. You must have the most synthetic skin known to man if this 5-year-old is out here dodging and giving black eyes. No. And so Trump was like, look, maybe we'll go on to have a great relationship. Maybe we won't, because that's the thing. People come in here with us, they like being here, and then when it's time to go, they either embrace it or they lose their minds. You can tell who broke up with who by how people move after a breakup. You know what I mean? Like, because while Trump is talking, Elon is tweeting. He's tweeting, and it's a lot. This dude goes all the way back to Trump's old tweets from like 2013, 2015, where he's like, I can't believe what they're doing with the spending bill. This is such irresponsible spending. If you have this much of a deficit, you won't have a country. And he's going back and showing all these old tweets, and he's quote tweeting them like wise words. Once again, you can tell who broke up with who, because for you to scroll back to 2013, you hurt. You are mad. You know how much his thumbs must be exhausted. 2013 tweets. Trump was tweeting 272 times a day, and he made it all the way back to 2013, which means he read them all. He hurt. So he hitting them with the 2013 "this you" text, like, that's crazy. That was insane. And he keeps tweeting. He's getting madder and madder. I don't even know what's happening in the background, but he is tweeting himself down a tunnel because every time he tweets, Tesla stock drops by like $13 billion. It's just going down and down and down and down. And he's tweeting up a storm, right? He even tweets out, he's like, you wouldn't have won without me. Okay, if it hadn't been for me, Republicans wouldn't have won the House. The Dems would be in the House. The Dems would have the White House, and you'd have a slim majority in the Senate. You ungrateful. Keeps tweeting, getting more and more upset. I don't know what's happening in the background, but this man is getting more and more pissed off. He even tweets, every single one of you Republican senators who votes for this bill will be voted out next term, all right? I will put money behind it, okay? He over here, honestly, Elon over here talking like he one of the people or something. Like, I was like, what is happening right now? What do you mean, we, dog? Like, make me uncomfortable. But he says it, and then he said, oh, he's getting madder and madder and madder. And then he tweets out threatening Republicans specifically. He's like, look, here's the deal. Trump's gonna be the president for 3.5 more years. I'm gonna be around for 40. That must have sent chills down your spine if you were a Republican senator, any Congress. But Trump is going to be president for 3.5 more years. I'll be around for 40. You could hear the threat in it when you read it. Trump is going to be president 3.5 more years. I will be around for 40. And I was sitting in my room like, not on crack. Like, not on crack. Like, that's not, you must not know what crack is. Like, that's not nutritious at all. The crack is not good for you. You should not have crack. Be around for 40. All right. Oh, it's insane. And then Trump finally tweets. He's had enough, and you can tell he's had enough because we know the type of man Trump is. We know the type of figure he is, the type of president he is. He's had enough of this, and he's been holding back. He's been very nice to Elon. I'm sure in his head he was like, I've been very, very nice to this dude. Elon acts and moves like he snuck into a body. And Trump didn't say anything. Trump is over here like, I didn't mention the jumping, the laughing, anything. This man blew crack smoke on my shoulder, and I was very nice to him. And so then Trump tweets out, he's like, hey, yo, one of the easiest ways for us to save billions and billions and billions of dollars is just get rid of all of Musk's government contracts. That would do it quick. And then Democrats were like, do you mean it? Or like, are you just mad or do you mean it? All right, I was just asking. Okay. And then Elon tweets, Elon tweets this clip that is him and Trump in front of a Tesla in front of the White House, and the quote for the tweet just says, "Remember when?" I was like, oh, he hurt. Oh, he must be sick right now. I've been broken up with most of my life, but I've never hit somebody with a "remember when." So crazy. Remember when? And then Musk tweets again. He's like, hey, since Trump wants to threaten my government contracts, how about SpaceX just goes ahead and disassembles Dragon whatever ship right now? And that would be all well and good, except there are 4 astronauts at the International Space Station right now that are probably floating like, what did we do? Like, that's... I'm not in this at all. Because they're mad, furious, going at each other, you know? And then, I don't know what pulls the trigger, you know? Trump tweeted one more time, and it still felt very reserved. It felt very nice. He was like, look, I don't care if Elon turns against me. I want the big, beautiful bill passed. He can just deal with it. Let's get this legislation done, right? And then Elon tweets out, all right, time to drop the big bomb. Trump is in the Epstein files. That's why they haven't come out yet. Have a nice day, DJT. You can tell who broke up with who, because the person that gets broken up with is the one that tries to ruin your life and tells you have a nice day in like the same breath. Oh, that's crazy. That's gonna be a hard one to dig yourself out of, because Epstein is like the burying ground. It is the conspiracy 101, right? So many people had podcasts, had hours of content going over Epstein, talking about who might be involved, who's in the Epstein files, who's in the Epstein log, his little black book, all that stuff, going over and over and over it, getting people really feverish over it. And then some of those same people, because of who they are and because who they're connected to, they get in office. They get into government office through Trump, right? That was a mistake, because even the hardcore conspiracy theorists knew. When Elon tweeted that out, Trump is in the Epstein files. That's why they haven't come out yet. Almost right underneath is Alex Jones saying, God help us all. Elon done got Alex Jones press. Because where do you go from here truly, you know? Where do you go? Because those same people who were talking about, if they just let me in a room full of files, I'd find the Epstein files in 5 minutes. Just let me in the room. And now you're in the FBI. And so when people ask you, what's up? And you're like, actually, it's nothing. Like, don't worry about it. Nothing happened. Just go back to what you were doing. It's not. That does not sound real. I'm not saying anything else is even going on. I'm saying what you have stoked makes it impossible to stomp out. There will never be enough information coming out. There will never be enough stuff uncovered. There'll never be enough files released. You know, they tried initially. They tried. They were like, hey, we're releasing the Epstein file. They even made it like, you know, like a Fox News event. Epstein files coming out 9 p.m. tonight, right? And when they released it to a lot of these like blue check conspiracy theorists, Twitter influence. I don't even know what it's called, but they released it to them, and those people were on fire. Those people were pissed. Because when they actually opened it and they read it, because they meant it. These are true believers, by the way. These aren't people that are like part of the grift. They're reading it and they realize that everything in these things has already been released already. There's no new information in these things. In fact, they did such a bad job of trying to make it look real that they redacted stuff that was already public. And that was, for that conspiracy theory group, very weird. That was very, very weird. You know? And so that was already strike one. And now Elon's saying this, that's strike two. Because it's not like that's new information. We knew that Trump was involved with Epstein. There's literally video of them partying together and stuff like that, like on MSNBC from 1992. Like, that's not news or anything. But when you're a conspiracy theorist and nothing is enough, nothing is enough. You know? And so then in the background, people are trying to chill this thing out. There are White House aides, there's Elon's assistants trying to get these two to mediate, not make it any worse than it is right now. You know? And as of the time I'm talking, there's a lot of stuff that Elon's taken down, like tweets that he took down. And even Trump is trying to be very nice to Elon. They asked him his first interview since all this happened. And he's like, look, I don't know. I'm just trying to run the country. I wish him well and everything. I don't know anything about his drug habit and him being a full-on crackhead. That's not any of my business, right? So publicly, he's putting on a very good face. He's trying to be very professional, very presidential. And apparently, rumor has it, privately, he is calling everybody he knows, like, you know you're a crackhead, right? Like, no, he blew the smoke right on my back. I had to get my suit cleaned. And look, I'm not saying that this is the end of either of them. I don't know if they'll reconcile. I don't think that's even possible. I just know it's the first time that I'm standing shoulder to shoulder with a bunch of people, watching two people go at it like fight. Yo, Detroit, y'all been amazing. Thank you so much.
Soho Theater, please make it loud for Josh Johnson!
I don't know if I'm the only one who cares, but have y'all seen what's happening with Duolingo? Okay, in case you're not familiar, Duolingo is an app where you learn other languages, supposedly. It's basically this app where they gamify learning another language through like quizzes and little mini games, little mini quests and stuff. And I'm not gonna say it doesn't work, but everybody I know that uses Duolingo still speaks English to me. Just throwing that out there. And, you know, over time, it was getting more expensive, and over time, there would be mistakes that were in the games and in the programs, which were kind of, I don't know how you would put it, but basically, it was kind of forgivable because you felt like you were getting that real-time help through a person, you know? So then a person would see through comments, oh, this is messed up. Oh, let me fix it. It actually should have been like this. And you were really getting like a sort of language learning community going under Duolingo, which is the point, you would think, to learn a new language, to talk to more people. It'd be kind of weird to learn a language just to be like, I did it. And no one will ever know. I'm just gonna go to whole countries, know what they saying, and not tell anybody. I have the power. I only think like a psychopath would do that. Like I've seen those viral videos of people being like in Japan and no one thinks that this black person in Japan speaks Japanese. So then they like are recording themselves or they're streaming and then someone says something about them and then they're like, boom, I know Japanese. And the person's like, what? How? You don't look like it. You know? That actually would have been a fire ad for Duolingo back in the day. It's just like have you like eating at like a fast food spot
everyone around you roasting you. Everybody getting one in, like, and the back of his head, look at it. Look, I can see right through it. Does he even know he got that bald spot? The bald spot fighting for his life is shiny. It's like a flashlight. And then you bounce back, you're like, I know French. What? I'm so embarrassed. I was being rude in undercover. Duolingo. But no, that's not what happened. You know, people were slowly learning these languages over time. And learning is like a hard, it's a hard way to describe it because it's not as if the language was fully being taught. It's not like the same thing as sitting in a class, being taught the tenses, being taught the situations to say certain things versus other things. It's more just like, did you spell we right? That's a little French. Have some of that. And so over time, you see Duolingo also get this internet presence that's like, their socials team is very like in vogue. You know, they get in there, they're funny in the comments, spicy comments too. Sometimes they got a quick jab back whenever somebody tries to trash Duolingo. And I don't know how I feel about it. If I'm being honest, it's like through our tax systems and through the economy, we already treat these companies like people. I don't know if I want to pretend that they're also interesting. Do you know what I mean? Like when I see a Twitter handle for a company, I don't want to be like, oh, they're so moody today. I can't believe Microsoft's so angry. You know? Because it's not like it's not an individual, it's a company. And there are individuals making that company feel like your friend, but they're not your friend. They're not your friend at all. And then they do this move, which is wildly unpopular, where they release a statement where they say, we're going to be an AI-first company, which is a interesting title to give yourself. You could have said customer first, you could have said teacher first, and you could have not said anything. Because people were already noticing, they were like, I think there's like less people working there now. I feel like some of my answers don't get answered in the right way. Some of the lessons even feel a bit like Chat GPT-ish, you know? And then they came out and said it. They're like, look, we're gonna use AI and you're gonna learn just the same as you've been learning. And I had friends who were like, I'm not learning anything already. And honestly, what's the fun of using Duolingo if you could just use any sort of like open AI, any sort of AI program to make your own learning course? If it's AI, then what's special about it? And so you see people, big backlash. Every time they even tweet, post anything, people are like, was this written by AI? You know? And it gets to the point where I don't really know if they were hacked or not, or if that's just like part of the marketing scheme, but basically they took down everything because they were getting trashed. Because, you know, they want to be expensive, they want to hire less people, they want to essentially disregard, disrespect, or just get rid altogether of their teachers and have you pay, I think, $20 a month to not learn French. And so people were rightfully upset. And so they take everything down and then they post it again, and they post it as the is it a frog? I mean, I think it's a bird. It's an owl? So they posted with a guy in a owl costume, and that guy was using like the deep, distorted voice, talking about how the elites ruin Duolingo, and I was like, yeah, but aren't you? What's happening? And then I think it was the CEO that even came out, and instead of giving some sort of statement that basically says, hey, look, yes, we're going to be using AI, but we're still going to have our teachers, and our teachers are going to just use AI for some of the menial tasks, but you'll still be talking to a teacher. Instead of reassuring the customers at all, he kind of just doubled down and was like, look, the AI is going to be better than teachers anyway. that people got really mad. And I think what's happening here is what's happening all the time. Teaching is hard. Teaching is very difficult. And if you love something and you love it enough to teach it, that to me is amazing. I don't know if I know anything well enough to teach it. And I don't know if I have the patience to convey those ideas in an efficient enough way that you know what I know when I'm done talking. That's scary. I would never try to teach. I don't know, even things that I'll admit right now, even things that I'm pretty sure about, I don't know enough about to teach. I believe in climate change, but if you asked me about climate change when I got done talking about climate change, you wouldn't believe in climate change. When I got done talking, you'd be like, everything he said sound made up. Because teaching is very, very difficult, and we forget. From every perspective, teaching is difficult. It's difficult in and of itself, alone, to be in your head, have the idea, convey the idea in a way that gets through someone else's head. You gotta get past all the video games and all the crushes and all the, just to be like, math! That's already hard enough. Never mind the fact that, like, kids are difficult. I'm not just talking about like junior high or all of them. I remember being difficult as a kid. I wasn't trying to be difficult. I wanted to learn the thing. It was not getting in. I was fighting it. I didn't even know it. Sometimes I'd even be a little pompous, you know? Like, I'll admit it, as a little kid, give me some grace. As a child, I was a flat earther. When I was little, I was a flat earther because, you know, my teacher tried to teach me about the globe and all the countries around the globe and stuff like that, and how the earth was round. I was like, Just gonna throw this out there for you. Feels pretty flat to me. I know I haven't been all over the world, but never been, you know, sideways. So I think it's pretty flat. Sorry to embarrass you while you're talking to the whole class, but... And then my teacher very graciously was like, oh, yeah, this is sadly a common misconception. It's not actually flat. The earth is round. I'm like, oh, huh. Not to contradict you, ma'am, but if the earth is round, why are all the maps flat? Truly, as an 8-year-old, I thought I had a mic drop moment. I was like, I mean, I rest my case. That's up there with you. You the one projected that thing, so, I mean, maybe I should have the chalk. I'm just saying. And then my teacher pulled out a globe. Because it's difficult. And look, I'm not a parent, and I can't imagine what it's like to be a parent the same way I can't imagine what it's like to be a teacher, but I see some of the friction that parents have with teachers sometimes, whether they think that they could do it better or that they think it must not be their kid, it must be the teacher. And I thought that all would have been settled through COVID. You remember that time where everybody was alone with their kids? To see how well they sort of grasped everything? You know, I don't think enough teachers got an apology. I feel like 2021, you should show up to your kid's school and be like, I didn't know he just wouldn't take the words in. Like, I really thought it was you this entire time, but nah, he hates science. That's his kryptonite. It's also hard because I think the way that we look at teaching is as the obstacle as opposed to as the help. Right? Like even now, if someone tries to teach you something, there's some reluctance there sometimes. It used to be you're a kid, and these adults, they don't know what they're talking about and try to teach me something. And then you become an adult, and you're like, why do you think you can teach me something? We're the same age. And then you get older, and then someone younger than you has something to say, and you're like, why do you think you can teach me something? You don't even know about the world, right? So I think that a lot of people, myself included, sometimes have a reluctance to learning in general, especially because there's a sort of like hubris around getting an idea. When you get an idea, you feel like you got it. Die snatch that. You know? It's like when people say that they're self-taught, but then they tell you how they taught themselves. No, I went to my friend's house, he built a whole deck. And I was like, that's incredible. I didn't know you did construction. He's like, I don't. I was like, how'd you build a deck? He's like, oh, you know, self-taught. And I was like, how did you teach yourself to build a deck? And he's like, oh, I just watched this guy on YouTube for like 75 hours or whatever. I had to watch some of the videos over and over again because I was scared I was going to mess up my cuts and everything. But then I got it, yeah. Then he taught you. That's not self-taught at all. 75 hours of listening to some other dude talk, he might as well have been here. No, because there's a deep respect that I have for teachers because they cared about something so much that they were willing to learn more about it than they ever probably had to, just to teach it to someone else, to share the thing that they love. My math teacher loved math so much that she went to more school for math, and then she came back, got a teaching degree, and then came back and taught a lower math than she understands. She has to dumb down math every day just to bring it to me, and just to try to give me some math. She went through all that, and I don't know how we did it. It's kind of incredible that all over the world, we somehow managed to not pay teachers enough and not give them enough, like in every country, no matter where you go. And so I bring it up because I think that I'm not a teacher, but I think the thing that teachers fall in love with is like that light bulb. Watching someone get something that you understand, that you're giving to them, and then it clicks. And they're like, oh, whether they're a little kid, little bitty kid. I remember a teacher at school is who really taught me how to tie my shoes. Like really put it together for me in my head. Obviously, my grandma tied my shoes and would show me how to do it while she was doing it. My mom would tie my shoes. My dad would tie my shoes. But she was the one that was like, no, we're going to practice. I'm just going to tie it. We're going to practice. And so then she tied it because I ran up to her after recess. I had been falling, right? I've been tripping hard. I was doing that, you know, that Looney Tunes drag where your legs go up? Because I was getting a good start, and then I'd step on a lace, and I'd go, whoa! And so, ran up to her. I was like, hey, can you help me tie my shoes? Just both. Laces couldn't be further from my feet. Just, can you help me tie my shoes? And she was like, sure. And then she tied both my shoes for me. And then just like that, she pulled the string and untied them both. And I was like, oh. I'd never been betrayed before. It's like, oh, why would you, what's wrong with it? And she was like, no, I've tied your shoes a couple days in a row. And I'm not gonna tie them anymore. We're gonna tie them together. And so for the rest of recess, sat down, tied my shoes over and over again until the last time I tied them and I didn't even notice it. And then for the rest of the time I was in elementary school, every time she saw me and she saw me, shoes tied, she saw that light bulb go off. Oh. And no matter how reluctant someone is to be taught, it's a beautiful thing when that happens. When the idea gets through and you can see it. You see the light bulb go off. Oh, it's round. Who would have thought? You know? And so, I don't know what it's like. I see this move in Duolingo towards AI, and that move towards AI is not to give you, the consumer, a better product. It's not to help the actual teachers who are passionate about people learning other languages so they can make new friends or have new experiences or just open their minds up to how big the world really is. When you understand language and you understand how many different ways there are to say something specifically and how few ways there are to say something very unique, you have an appreciation for communication, right? And that's not what Duolingo is looking to do. They would like to make more money. And it's a business, so to be fair, more money would be nice. That's what you're supposed to do at business. No one shows up to business like, did you make any friends? But that is why they're making that move towards AI. And I see that thing happening in places that do make me worry. Like, I don't know much about the UK school system or anything. I don't know if it's good or bad or how y'all feel about it. I just know the stories that I've been seeing where there are some schools that are looking to introduce and implement AI teachers, like AI taking over the classroom. And I don't know, that really worries me because I think that you need a teacher, you need a person to watch you get it. That's part of the human experience. To watch you get it is great. Being in a classroom that's led by AI has to be like being in a driverless car. And you get in, and they tell you it's safe. They tell you it'll get you where you're going, but you get in, and, you know, maybe they programmed it to make sure it makes the light, but not to speed, you know. But you're in the back seat for some reason. I mean, I guess there's no wheel, so might as well. And you're just looking out the windshield the whole time like, okay, they say this is how you get there, but I've never gone this way before. And now you're just sitting there like, oh, I think you missed the left. Oh. Really nobody to talk to in here, so sort of talking to myself. Oh, that's a bus, that's a bus, that's a bus, that's a bus, that's a bus. Because one thing about being here that that I cannot stress enough, the way y'all's buses move is wildly different than what I'm used to. If I'm being honest, I don't know how you train your bus drivers. Or what happens when a bus driver hits a person, but it looks like they're trying to find out every turn. I was crossing the street to come here, and the bus driver cut the wheel so hard in front of me and looked at me the entire time. But you're in this driverless car, and it says it's going to get you where you're going. And so maybe you should trust it. Who knows? But sometimes prefer a person, you know? I know that we don't necessarily treat everything this way. Like, the best example I can give is when it comes to school and how kids are using ChatGPT and other AI to do their homework for them or do the lesson for them and turn it in. The big fear there is that they will not know how to think to a conclusion, right? Like if we're being honest, and this isn't to disparage what anyone teaches or how they teach it, but a lot of the actual lessons you learn in school don't matter as much as you taking the steps to get to the end product, right? Like it isn't imperative that you read Mark Twain. But it is good that you read something that is not how the people that you know talk, and it's not from a time that you live in, and it opens up your mind to that the world might be different, you know? And the fear is that if kids use this thing too much, if it's completely abused, that you'll essentially graduate someone who is illiterate and not able to think critically about anything. And they'll be a doctor. And I get that. I get that fear. But you also have to look at it from the perspective of those kids, because they're essentially being told that, look, we try to teach you well so that you can go out into the world and be productive and maybe get a good job. But as far as good jobs, we're like done with those, so you're not gonna get That's gonna go to AI. But don't use the AI to cheat. You gotta read the whole book slow, so we could be impressed by how the AI reads it fast. And so I understand how a lot of kids feel like they don't have stake in the type of future that the work that they're expected to do would link them up with, you know? Like there's this idea that if you do everything right, you'll reap the rewards, but we're already telling you the rewards won't be there by the time you get done. And so I see things like them bringing AI into these UK schools and paying for these programs. You have to ask yourself, is this really coming out of the kindness of someone's heart? Or is this to make money? Is there a company that will make money? And surely there is. Because the programs range in prices. There's one program, though, that is being implemented in school. I think, I could be wrong about the exact number, but I'm pretty sure that the amount that the program is going to cost the school is like £27,000, which I'm not saying is the best salary in the world, but you could pay that to a person, you know? And it just freaks me out because I only know what it's like in the American school system, which is scary enough. And not just because of the shootings. It's also... It's not because the I'm saying the American school system is already difficult enough because you have underpaid and overworked teachers that have to take extra jobs and just fight for their lives and then still spend their own money to get supplies for kids to do the work that they're expected to do, right? Just to like stay even slightly above water. So how can you not expect this kid who's already been given less resources than kids in other districts and kids who, you know, by some accident happen to go to a great school or happen to be in a place with money, how can you not expect them to use ChatGPT to get them to close the gap? And how can you not expect these teachers to be like, I already drive Uber, deliver pizza, and teach geography. I don't know if I can try to find the AI. You know? Because you can get really far without knowing. Actually, that's one thing I think about all the time. I don't know if your schools are good or not, but I also don't know if it matters, at least to Americans, because if you come over to the US with your accent, we'll believe you. Like, people in the US fall for the British accent so hard, it's kind of unfair that we were ever number one. Like even a lot of the conspiracy theories that we believe in the US did kind of come from a British guy who just talks smooth. You know, like he comes over after y'all kicked him out for being too wild, and then he's like, you know, there's lizards in all the people. And we're like, when he says it, it makes sense. You know, y'all have some phenomenal exports. But you do have some rough ones. You know? Like, why'd y'all do, like, that, sending Piers Morgan to us. It almost constitutes an act of war. Like I don't know who else you could have sent that Boris Johnson wouldn't have been as destructive as Piers Morgan on our TV all the time. That was, what did we ever do to you? I'd like to think that the UK holds like centuries-long grudges. And I'm like, okay, all right, y'all think you cute. You think you cute, you gonna leave me. Just wait. Wait like 200 years. I'm gonna send the most annoying man that's ever lived to be on 3 of your news stations every day. No? Because it's difficult. I mean, you can get really far without knowing much. That's scary. And that's even before AI. Ask Piers Morgan. You can get so far without knowing anything. In fact, there was a teacher in the US. This blew my mind. This teacher, and look, I'd have to look it up again, but I was throwing it out there. British man. It just sort of backs up my point. This dude taught in the U.S. for 8 years and he couldn't read. he couldn't read. Imagine somebody failing you who can't read. Imagine you turn in your paper and they're like, I don't even know what this says, but it looked wrong. Like, this look like garbage, man. Nah, this dude really figured it out. This is one of those stories that kind of went semi-viral before virality was like well established. So before YouTube and like things could pop off on Twitter, Facebook, or anything, this dude got his like maybe his master's or something, and started teaching. And I think he was teaching like middle school, and taught middle school for like 8 years. Could never read, but what he would do was he was very good at picking out personalities. This was his talent. This was his thing that he had used his entire life. He could read people. He couldn't read words, but he knew. He knew people so perfectly, he could laser into them, and he knew so much about you just by looking at you. And one of the things he would do every year, every semester, he would lock in on like 2 or 3 of the smartest kids in class. Just naturally smart, just genuinely gifted. And he would have them, read a paragraph or 2 to the class starting the lesson. And then he would basically, watching over them, kind of get the smart kids to teach all the other kids. And it was astounding. That's wild. I'm sure that's what they think the AI will do. I'm sure that's what this dude would lock in, and he'd just see, okay. He'd be like, today, can you read page 11? Can you read page 12? Can you read page 13? And we'll all just take notes in our books as we go. Right? As the kids would be taking notes, as the other kids were reading and everything. And one of the things that he said in his defense, he's like, show me where the kids that I taught aren't proficient in what I was teaching. My methods work. And it's fitting that he was teaching middle school too, because middle schoolers are some bullies. A middle schooler is the only one with the real audacity to be like, I don't think he can read. That would never happen in higher education. Like, if you're getting your master's and your professor can't read, you would second guess yourself. You'd be like, no, I must be missing something. He must just be like so locked in that he never looks at the book. No, only a middle schooler would be like, I bet you he can't read, dog. Because a middle schooler will blackmail you too. A middle schooler would be like, hey, look, it's A's for me and my boys the rest of the year. Or we telling everybody you can't read. That's A, as in the first letter. That's A as in the first letter that you can't read, because you can't read, okay? If I even see a closed A that look like a B, I'm telling everybody. Imagine that. Imagine getting caught. Imagine principal, vice principal got to pull you into the office. You sitting down, because the kids loved him. He never gave homework. You sitting down, what's going on, y'all? How's everything going? We need to talk to you about something that's a bit troubling. We are hearing, it's honestly hard to even say this out loud. I feel so embarrassed even bringing it up, but there have been some accusations by some students and maybe a few parents as well that you ooh. Because you gotta think about it. If you're wrong, you look so crazy as the principal. if you're wrong, you look like you believe everything you've ever been told in your life. If you're a principal that drags a teacher into a room to be like, can you read? Like, you hired me. Like, can I read? Principal sitting him down. Okay, look, so there have been some concerns and some accusations by some students and some parents that your literacy is not in the room with us. You know, and I don't know if they would have the teacher in there by himself or they'd have the kid that accused him of not being able to read because he didn't get the A he wanted. Maybe he's sitting there. Teacher, this is preposterous. You know, words you say when you don't know how to spell it. This is preposterous. Me not be able to read. What how dare you? How absolutely dare you? Kid sitting there. Make him read something. Make him read something. He gonna do it anyway if he can do it. They try to get him to sign his resignation letters. They're like, can you read it? I'm not even gonna dignify that with a response. Kid sitting there, that means no. No? And that's my fear. That's my big fear is that you let this system start, it only benefits companies, and before you know it, it's an entire generation, an entire country of people who aren't proficient in thinking skills. They can't think critically. They're not truly literate. And never mind not just reading for fun. They do not really grasp how important reading is because you can either cheat the AI or the AI has the best interests of the company in mind. Because that's another thing that was happening with Duolingo. It's just all these ads started popping up, ads for companies because they're a company that's trying to make money, you know? And so what if that happens? What if you implement so much AI into all of these schools and it goes left? How fast can you train an entire generation of teachers that were burned out and underpaid and overwhelmed to begin with? You know? That means that you could have an entire generation of UK teachers coming to the US not knowing how to read and teaching our kids not to read. Could be a disaster. Never underestimate the power and the impact that a teacher can have on your life. I remember a teacher sat me down and told me something I didn't even know about myself. This teacher sat me down and told me, you got a lot of nervous energy. Like and I was like in middle school where you can't even be polite. You just got to get right to the point. Like they just sat me down. You got a lot of nervous energy. All right. You ever thought of drawing? Just channel it somehow. Right. I was like, oh no, I never thought to draw. I love anime. Yeah, maybe I'll draw. And I drew something and you know, my teacher was like, draw something, bring it to me. You know, I'd like to see what you draw. And so I did. And when I showed my teacher my drawing, they were like, we're gonna find something else. For you to do with your energy, all right?
When I